Hello, folks. Welcome back to the channel. I am yours truly, and today I am going to do a week zero takeaways, some of the biggest winners and some of the biggest losers. The good news is that there wasn't really no big time losers. Like nobody lost pretty badly or lost when they should have won. Yeah, there was a couple upsets with the Vegas lines, but it wasn't like a major top 25 team losing to an unranked team, or you know what I'm saying. Uh, so enough of me rambling on. Let's get into some of the winners and or not winners and losers. Obviously, there is some losers, but they still won. We'll get into those as we get down the list. So enough of me talking about it. Let's get right down the list. Uh, First game we're going to start off with is the first game that was played. It was Notre Dame and Navy. Notre Dame just mopped the floor on Navy all game long. They were going up and down the field. I was even live streaming this game too. Navy, whenever they got something going, they would just shoot themselves in the foot. Especially like with the fourth down conversion try, where the two Navy receivers ran into each other. It was pretty funny, but yeah, that's what happened. Then they tried to get down the field again. They missed a field goal, and then Notre Dame just ran right down the field, and they pretty much could do whatever they wanted to with Navy. It was 28-0 at halftime, and when Notre Dame scored another touchdown, I just said, you know what? Yeah, I even cut the stream short on this one because um, it's like putting a horse out of its misery. You just don't want to keep watching it. You just don't want to keep watching somebody or a team suffer. And that's what the case was. The final score in this one was 42-3. Yeah, Notre Dame was rolling in this one. Next week they will play another cupcakes team in Tennessee State. Pretty much going to be an easy win for them unless they don't even show up at all. So that's that for Navy and Notre Dame. Yeah, I would consider Notre Dame a big winner in this one. The next game we get into is UTEP and Jacksonville State. Fun fact with this one was this is the first game that Jacksonville State played as an FBS member. Yeah, there was a lot of realignment talk about Oregon, Washington, the Four Corner schools this year, and even the new schools that got added to the Big 12, but not many people were talking about Jacksonville State and Sam Houston moving from FCS to Conference USA as an FBS member. Now, Jacksonville State and Sam Houston won't be able to play a bowl game this year because of the NCAA rules saying that you can't play in a bowl game in your first year as an FBS member. I think it's bullshit, but hey, it's the NCAA rules for you. Enough of that. Jacksonville State played at home against UTEP, and this was a very close game all the way through. I think at halftime it was like 10-7. Yeah, it was pretty close all the way through. It wasn't like Jacksonville State jumped out to an early lead and UTEP tried to come back. It was close all the way through, and Jacksonville State ended up pulling out a upset win in this one against UTEP. UTEP came into this game like a 3-point favorite to beat Jacksonville State. They ended up losing by 3. So this is a big win for Jacksonville State and getting their first win as an FBS member against a conference foe in UTEP. So that was a big win for the Jacksonville State program. And then the next team we get into. Oh wait, before we leave Jacksonville State, their next opponent is Eastern Tennessee State. So while normally this would be an easy opponent for a FBS member, Jacksonville State is still transitioning from being an FCS member to FBS member. So that could be an interesting game for Jacksonville State. The next game on the list is UMass and New Mexico State. And boy, this was probably the biggest shocker of the night. New Mexico State came in as a touchdown favorite against UMass, and deservedly so, because New Mexico State went to a bowl game last year and won. Ended up at 7-6, while UMass was an utter atrocious failure last year. Not just a terrible team, an atrocious team. And I think they only won like maybe 2 games, 1 or 2 games, something like that. Yeah, they came in and just ran right through New Mexico State in this one. The final score in this one was 41-30, but most of the scoring didn't even happen until the fourth quarter. Halftime it was 10-10. Okay, and then going into the fourth quarter it was 13-10. So most of the scoring happened in the fourth quarter, including a pick six, all kinds of stuff with UMass. So that was a great win for UMass, and it gives them some momentum going into their next game, which is Auburn. And they're a huge underdog against Auburn. So it was a great win for UMass to get over New Mexico State. New Mexico State is probably the biggest loser as far as the point spread in Vegas numbers, but this is probably the only time that New Mexico State and a team like New Mexico State and UMass are going to be on national television and not getting blown out by 40, 50 points. So the next matchup that I want to talk about is Ohio and San Diego State. Not Ohio State, Ohio. So just clearing up any confusion. This one was another close game all the way down to the end. This was played in San Diego State, and San Diego State was a favorite to win this one. They were only a 2-point favorite, so Vegas predicted a tight game in this one, and it certainly was a tight game in this one. In halftime it was 10-6, but eventually San Diego State pulled away at the end, and Ohio tried to come back, and it just was all for nothing. Final in this one was 20-13, so another defensive battle between two teams. So congrats to San Diego State for getting a win. The next matchup is going to be Idaho State. So probably another snooze fest for San Diego State. They'll probably win that game, but it's not guaranteed for a team like San Diego State. And then this is the matchup that I want to really talk about, is USC versus San Jose State. USC put a 50 burger on San Jose State. That's not the issue that I want to talk about. The issue I want to talk about is they almost gave up a 30 burger to San Jose State, a team that they should have beaten by, 40, 50 points. But their fucking defense, it's the same defense, different year with Lincoln Riley. Even if you go back to Oklahoma, he's always had terrible defenses. And you say, well, they're bringing in talent. Yeah, they're bringing in talent through the transfer portal, but it all lies on coaching. I mean, you could bring in a bunch of 5 stars and 4 stars on defense, but if they're missing assignments, blown coverages, that's not talent. That's a coaching issue. I mean, there's coaches out there that do more with less, and I think Lincoln Riley is a coach that does less with more on defense. I mean, the talent is there at USC. I'm not going to discredit it, but is makes absolutely there's absolutely zero excuses why they gave up 28 to San Jose State. They got to tighten that defense up very, very quickly if they want to make a playoff run. And based off what I saw last night, even if they do make the playoffs, they're going to get bounced out the first round, just like most Lincoln Riley teams, even at Oklahoma. They made it to the first round of the playoff and they got bounced. It's because of that defense. I think it was a big mistake for Lincoln Riley to keep Alex Grinch. The Grinch that stole Christmas, more like the Grinch that stole the USC talent. I think that was the biggest mistake he could have did, is keeping him, because there's no improvement in that defense. Ever since he got hired in 2019, maybe just a touch better, but Alex Grinch was replacing Mike Stoops. The Oklahoma man hated Mike Stoops, so when Lincoln Riley finally fired him, they hired Alex Grinch, and it improved just a touch at Oklahoma. So I think Lincoln Riley needs to fire him and hire a defensive coordinator that's halfway decent. Normally, I don't like saying to fire somebody, but you've had, what is it? 1, 2, 3. You've had 4 years to prove you're a good defensive coordinator, and your defenses are in the 80s and 90s, sometimes even the hundreds every year. Yeah, the only reason USC was even in the running last year was because of the turnover margin. And the turnover margin is nice to have. You want to have a good turnover margin, but you can't just rely on turnover margin to win your games, because there's cases where turnovers happen because of a deflection or a drop pass, or somebody fumbled the ball and it bounces your way. Some of it is based off of luck. I mean, that's the issue with Lincoln. The issue isn't with the offense. The offense could put up 40, 50 points, no problem. The issue is their defense. They're in the same position as Tennessee. Tennessee could put up 40, 50 points too, but their defense also lets them down too. So I think USC and Tennessee are in the same position as far as where they're at. They did win by 28, but I would consider this as a loss for USC, because USC should have beaten San Jose State like 56-10 if you had a competent defense. And I mean, from what I gathered, that I didn't watch the game because it was on Pac-12 Network, and well, who's going to watch that when the Pac-12 was going to die with the dinosaurs in less than a year? So from what I've heard is that San Jose State just kept running up and down the field on USC on defense. It wasn't like Caleb Williams threw a bunch of picks or a couple pick sixes. It was just San Jose State just ran right up and down the field, and that shouldn't be the case. No disrespect to San Jose State, but USC is a far more talented team than San Jose State. And yeah, they did win. Congrats to USC for winning, but you got to be feeling a bit embarrassed by winning that game, because that defense is atrociously bad, just like it was last year. So the next game for USC to play is going to be Nevada, another Mountain West team. So we're going to see how well USC does next week. Yeah, they're playing next week on the Pac-12 Network, of course, because nobody's going to watch that game, and nobody's going to come to the stadium to watch that game either. So we'll see how the USC does. But if they continue to put that piss poor defense out there for USC, they might make a playoff just because they're in the Pac-12 still, as one loss Pac-12 champion or 0 loss. But I think they're going to get bounced out of the first round because of that defense. If that defense doesn't change, I'll probably start questioning if they're even going to win the Pac-12 this year, because the Pac-12 is loaded with great teams this year. Enough. I'm going off a tangent about that. So we're going to move things along and go to the next game, which is Florida International and Louisiana Tech. In this game, this game was close all the way down to the end. Louisiana Tech got off to a slow start. They were up, or Florida International was up 14-0 after one, but they came back and they were still trailing at halftime, which was 17-13, but in the fourth quarter, that's when it mattered for Louisiana Tech. They ended up pulling out a win with this one, although it was a pretty shaky win for Louisiana Tech. They were a 12-point favorite, and they won by 5. So, for the Vegas man that was betting on this game, betting on the spread, you might have lost your money, even though Louisiana Tech won. So congrats to Louisiana Tech. They play Northwestern State next. Another F. No, actually, I'm incorrect. The next game they play is at SMU. Yeah, I think another decent team for Louisiana Tech to play. Not saying Florida International is terrible, but they're in a rebuild process. So, and then the final game the final game I want to talk about in week 0. Normally I wouldn't do this, but since there was only 7 games entirely for week 0, I might as well just go down the list. Normally I'm probably going to do like the top 25 matchups. I'm not going to do every single one of them because then the video would be way too long. So the final game that I want to talk about is Vanderbilt and Hawaii. Now this game took a long time to get started because of weather. So, when they finally got started, Vanderbilt did what they had to do. They started off hot. Hawaii made this a much closer game than it should have been, but at the same time, we're talking about Vanderbilt, probably undisputed worst team in the SEC. Well, actually, used to be. You could make a debate on that now. Not just because of record, but because of talent. This game was I guess this game was a fun one to watch because from what I've heard is that Vanderbilt Stadium's under construction and they didn't get the construction done in time. So the funniest thing is that they had to hold the scoreboard up by a crane, just a screen, nothing else, just a screen. They had to hold up the scoreboard for Vanderbilt, and the visiting locker room was just a tent. Like, I would have had more respect for Vanderbilt if they were to play at, I don't know, I guess you could play at Nissan. Well, I don't know. You would have to work that out with the Tennessee Titans, but I found that very funny. And the only reason, as some of the reports I've seen and heard, is that since they didn't get the stadium finished on time, they're going to have to hold the scoreboard up with a crane, and they're going to have the people that are visiting Vanderbilt, they're going to be basically in a tent. Hawaii made this a game for Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt, according to Vegas, should have beaten Hawaii by 17, but they still ended up winning by a touchdown. So, congrats to Vanderbilt. Yeah, they're technically a loser by Vegas odds, but it's Vanderbilt. Let's give them 15 seconds of fame, because it's not going to be an easy season from there. The next game for Vanderbilt is Alabama A&M, so an FCS team. So they'll probably be able to win that game over Alabama A&M. So to give a quick recap, or give a a quick summary of all the losers' next opponent. Navy's next opponent is Wagner. That'll probably be more competitive for Navy. For UTEMP, it is Incarnate Ward, another hot team in FCS, or at least it was last year. For New Mexico State, it is Liberty. No, not Liberty. Western Illinois. And then for Ohio, their next opponent is Long Island. Pretty easy for them. At least it should be. For San Jose State, that is Oregon State. So another Pac-12 team for San Jose State. For FIU, their next opponent is Maine. And finally for Hawaii, their next opponent is Stanford. So the good news for Hawaii is that they don't have to travel to Stanford. Stanford's got to travel to them. So that's all I got for today. If you like the content, hit the thumbs up for me. If you like to see the latest content that I put out there, hit that subscription button. It'll go a long way to help the channel out. If you haven't seen already, I do most of my live streams on YouNow. The reason is because if you want to support me, you could donate to me on there, or if you want to subscribe to me for $5 a month. I do an exclusive stream on there that doesn't get broadcast on here. So the plan for this week is I'm gonna do all the week 1 schedule, or not a schedule breakdown, but predicting winners and losers for week 1. I might make a video later on today about Arizona State and some recent news that popped up for Arizona State. So anyways, I thank y'all for coming around and watching the content. It means everything to me. I couldn't do this without the fans of the channel. So thank y'all so much for coming out. And thank y'all for watching the videos. And I'll see y'all next time.